everybody. I got home at 2 a.m. this morning from Ireland, and so for the last week I've been living the stories that Andreas brought to life for us, and also that sense of connection that Mac spoke of. And I'd just like to share with you this evening this sense of unity, this unity awareness that I bang on about. Because it's an awareness that's incredibly ancient. It's awareness that was experienced and embodied by our ancestors and by indigenous peoples still around the world. It's an awareness that when we go on our own inner journeys, discovers us. It's not something that, in my sense, we discover. It comes to meet us if we're willing to show up and get out of the way. And so, our beliefs drive our behaviours. Our experiences really, I take the point that Andreas made, our experiences or what we experience or how we experience is often coloured, very much coloured, by our beliefs about ourselves and the wider world. And indigenous peoples and ancestors not just believed in wholeness, they experienced and embodied it. But over the last few centuries, in the West and progressively globally, we've told ourselves another story. And what are the stories we tell and the stories we live? And progressively over these 3 centuries, we've had a story that is more and more scientifically based. And I'm a cosmologist, so I trained as a scientist, but from the age of 4 I've experienced multidimensional realities and wholeness. So for me, there's never been a sense of somehow science being separate from spirituality. But nonetheless, our mainstream science has journeyed down that road. And so we've had a mainstream science that has basically said the world, the appearance of the world is its true reality. This world is the only realm. Its appearance of separation is what it really is. That somehow, since its beginning, nearly 14 billion years ago, accidental processes of evolution have somehow got to a point where consciousness has arisen, accidentally. And there's no meaning or purpose to this. It's just what it is. And we've brought into, very often we've brought into, even though our hearts tells us differently, our heads and our societies and the science has said, no. Separation's real. Materialism is the only true reality. And we've progressively gone on this route, and it's brought us some incredible benefits and superb technologies, but at an enormous price of literally, in my perspective, dismembering our psyche from the whole world. And the good news is, I want to hear it for you. And the good news is, it's wrong. I've actually said bullshit twice, once in the Parliament of Religions, once in the United Nations, and tonight's the third. It's wrong. And what we're now discovering is evidence across all scales of existence and many, many different fields of research, the evidence that instead of a materialistic and separate reality, which is its appearance, that what we call our universe emerges from deeper causative realms of intention, of intelligence. That our universe is not a great thing, but essentially a great thought. And that consciousness and mind aren't something we have, but literally what we and the whole world are. Cosmologically, for the whole universe, down to the most minute aspects of the universe, The same patterns, informational, meaningful, dynamic, relational patterns are showing up. Last year, scientists at MIT, my colleagues, were able to show that a theoretical, unified interconnectivity of all of the universe is real. And they did it by entangling photons of light in a laboratory with starlight 600 light years away, and light from what's called a quasar, really active, very bright object, 12.2 billion light years away. They entangled all that light and showed it was all non-locally connected. In other words, out as far as 12.2 billion light years, our universe exists and evolves as a unified entity. That light left that quasar 12.2 billion years ago. Just think about that for a moment. And what we're finding is that these patterns, these interrelational, informational, holographic patterns, don't just show up throughout the natural world, but they show up in collective human behaviours. When we analyse the patterns of earthquakes, we can create a graph. Frequency of earthquakes and their destructive power. And when we analyse hundreds and hundreds of earthquakes, we find that all of them actually array along a straight line. And what that shows us is there's a very simple relationship. An earthquake that is twice as powerful is 4 times less likely to happen. That's what that shows. There's no such thing as a typical earthquake. There's just a relationship between power and frequency. But when we analyse human conflicts, hundreds of human conflicts, from tiny little hissy fits to world wars, we found, and I say we, the royal we, a researcher called Lewis Richardson just after the Second World War, and a team at the University of Florida led by Lord Johnson. And what Lewis did is analyse hundreds of conflicts up to about 1946, and he plotted them on a graph. Destructive power in terms of human fatalities and frequency. Exactly the same graph as for earthquakes. When Lewis Richardson did the same analysis for insurgencies in Iraq and Afghanistan, the same relationship. In other words, we can't separate ourselves from the natural world. The same patterns that are playing out in trees and planets and galaxies are playing out in us. Because all that we call reality is consciousness exploring itself. And if we can co-create what's called the attractor for conflicts, we can co-create an attractor for peace. We can co-create the higher vibration, the remembering of connection, the remembering of unity, to come together to co-create peace. That's it. It's about remembering unity. And the evidence is now here. And this leading edge science across all these fields of research and all these scales of existence is converging with universal spirituality into a cosmology of consciousness, into a science of love. And it's not about believing it. When Jung was on his deathbed, and the great psychologist Carl Jung was on his deathbed, somebody said to him, "Herr Jung, do you believe in God?" And he said, "No." He said, "I know God." We're coming to the point where the evidence is coming together with the ancient wisdom, the great Upanishads of ancient India, the great teachings of all universal spirituality, the teachings of indigenous peoples, is coming together and showing that spirit is not separate. You know, we talk about mind, body, spirit, as though somehow they're separate. They're just different notes on the piano. As my dear friend Elizabeth Sartori said, she said, you've got people down in the low notes of the piano, going, this is what's reality. And then you've got people at the top end of the piano, this is reality. And she said, it's the whole piano. It's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual unity. And when we come from that inner place to that outer place, when we come from that inner experience and embodiment of unity, after understanding that this scientific convergence has got our backs, it's grounding us in the evidence. It's not woo. Somebody said at our Unity conference last year, when we were at the Westminster Abbey, it's rational to spiritual. Hey! But this is the point. We're at a place now where our beliefs have driven our behaviours. Our fragmented perspectives of the nature of reality have driven our dysfunctional behaviours. The Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations are attempts to respond to those dysfunctional behaviours. All 17 of them. Number 16 is peace. It has the least investment on all of them. It needs the greatest because my sense is instillers is the most tangible expression of unity awareness is peace. It's the natural expression of unity in diversity, that we honour diversity from that place of unity. So this is our opportunity, it seems to me, to understand the unified nature of reality, the true nature of reality, the multidimensional nature of reality, and then experience it on that inner journey, that inner remembering of who we really are. And when we do that, when we begin to go on that journey, which is unique for each of us and yet common to us all, it's a journey of homecoming. And it can be a homecoming to home on Mother Earth. Because this is how we heal, I feel, our relationship, not just with each other, but with our beloved Mother Earth, with Gaia. And so I'd like to complete by sharing what seems to be coming forward as this new story, because we've told stories from beginning the mists of human history, prehistory, when we first sat around a campfire, a fire to hold out the dark and the cold and the dangers. We sat around a fire as community, and we came together and we told stories. And Indigenous people still do. I've sat around campfires in Alaska and Australia and many, many other places with stories. And our story has been one of separation. And it seems to me that now we can begin to share a new story. And I'd like to do that with you this evening, if I may. You up for this? Yeah. I don't usually do this. I don't have any notes usually. And I don't have any slides most of the time. But I'd like to share from these words. So maybe we can do that by, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and think with this evolving story. Because our universe, all that we're now rediscovering, is our universe is so exquisitely set up as a unified entity that it doesn't just exist and evolve from simplicity to complexity. It literally exists to evolve. And we are intrinsic partners, co-evolutionary partners in its evolutionary impulse. And as we remember unity, we can remember our purpose, our highest purpose, in being here at this incredible moment of possibility. And in this here and now, we literally are at the unfolding edge of the universe. The past is behind us, we stand in the present, and we look to the potential of a future. So this is the evolving story of now. Now was born nearly 14 billion years ago. Her mother was the cosmos,
the formless, infinite, and eternal wholeness, where neither time nor space, nor energy nor matter existed. There was just the emptiness of immeasurable potential. Then, as a great thought, the cosmos chose to birth now, as a universe, to breathe into being the possibility of singing a song of life. Lovingly, she sang now's universe into form, its informed appearance of space and time, energy and matter, emerging from its fundamental nature of cosmic information and consciousness. Holographically manifested, it would contain all of now in every point of expanding space and every moment of the flow of time. Now was created by the cosmos not only to exist, but to evolve. For now's first 400 millennia, the primordial echoes of her song attuned the notes of the first stars and galaxies, shepherding them into existence. Then, through long billions of years, now continued to learn, exploring, experiencing, and always evolving. Within the emerging life of her ongoing song, countless stars were born. They burned brightly and died until after nearly 9 billion years, now arrived at a great threshold. Their heritage had bequeathed enormous interstellar dust clouds, embodying a wealth of elemental resources, water, and even complex molecules, harbingers of biological life. From their nurseries now began to sing a tender cradle song for her planetary children. One of these planets is called Gaia. Circling grandfather sun and watched over by grandmother moon, she's protected by her elder brothers, Jupiter and Saturn. Blessed by being neither too hot nor too cold, she became a blue planet, abundantly nurtured by water. In Gaia's primeval oceans, now midwife the DNA template for the emergence of all of Gaia's biological children. From archaic bacteria evolving to oxygen-releasing algae, now began her terraforming quest for Gaia to become an oxygen-rich home. Guided by now's evolutionary impulse, waves of ever more complex creatures thrived in Gaia's oceans until 550 million years ago, when our atmosphere, now rich in oxygen, empowered plants to first inhabit the land. Their abundance soon welcomed animals to join them, and now's love nourished Gaia and all her growing children into interdependent ecosystems of co-creative evolution. And now's yearning to learn and grow continued unabated, with human beings eventually emerging. Each human being is a community of more than 60 trillion cells made up of the energy and matter from the birth of now herself. We embody within us ancient stardust and all those who have gone before us, primordial bacteria to the earliest creatures who walked on land, the dinosaurs that succeeded them, and a tiny shrew-like ancestor of all mammals, to a hominid forebears, and now to us. Unlike all of Gaia's other children, we're able to discern our ancient lineage and reflect upon ourselves. We're the stuff of our universe reflecting upon itself. Yet gradually, as we learn to speak and to write, instead of remembering that we're part of the universal web of life, we began to see ourselves as being separate from the rest of the universe of which we're made. As we grew in number and lived in human-made environments, our perception of separation from Gaia and her other children also increased. And collectively we began to have devastating effects on our planetary home. Unless we overcome this false perception of separation and re-experience ourselves as part of Gaia and part of the universe, now's evolution may continue without us, for continue it will. As we begin, though, to remember who we really are, we can begin to tell stories, new yet ancient, like this one, that share our true and loving relationship with now and her universe. We can let go of the mythic illusion of separation, which has brought desolation to ourselves, and Gaia, and all her children. And with hope in action, we can take our place and live and serve the promised destiny of our conscious evolution alongside now at the unfolding edge of the universe. That's perhaps a new story. And just to end, I'd like to share an experience about a week ago. I was at a place called Valencia Island, which is on the west coast of Ireland. And I was walking along the beach there and just reflecting how my footprints would be gone in the next tide. And then I went down to see some earlier footprints on the edge of the sea. And these footprints were 385 million years old. They're the oldest footprints of a vertebrate animal on Earth that we know. These beings, these tetrapods, left the oceans for the land 385 million years ago. And when I look down on these little creatures and their steps, where at high tide the sea fills their steps, I felt that lineage within me. I felt within my backbone, because it is. We are their descendants. We are their successors. And think of, I mentioned to an Irish guide while we were out, because I was so moved by this, and I said they were so courageous. So courageous. And he said, they might have just not liked the neighbours in the sea. I said, my God, it's the first Brexit. But the story of Valencia began south of the equator all those millions of years ago, and has now come to this place where we can still see their first steps. And I just thought, my goodness, we really are co-creative evolutionary partners, not just with our beloved planetary home Gaia, but with the entire universe. We have a reason to be here. We have a purpose to be here. We are remembering unity with all the grief that is an appropriate response. It's also a way of allowing the healing. Unless we grieve, we cannot heal. And unless we heal, we cannot become whole. But in grieving and healing and linking up and lifting up with each other, we are remembering that we are whole. We are remembering that each of us is unique within the wholeness. We can remember unity and celebrate it in diversity. And that, for me, is the seed of this evening. That, for me, is the call for hope in action as we leave this evening and move forward. And that is the invitation we will offer to each and every one of you through the email that will go out to us. You said, Scylla, what breaks your heart? What calls you? And I'd say what makes your heart sing as well. Because often what breaks your heart actually makes it sing as well. So I invite all of us to remember who we really are, and just give your next door neighbour a hug, please. Go on, do it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.